Welcome to Passing Through. Our guest today is Fred Trost. He is the host and producer of Michigan Outdoors. He also has in the past developed Michigan Weekend. He also has the Michigan Outdoors dial-it service for Bell Telephone. And he's here in Flint for a very special reason. We're having a pledge drive, and he's doing a special for us. And he's here to kind of thank Flint for all of their support. Welcome to Flint.
Well, thank you, Karen. Yeah, I want to thank the people in Flint. This is a real outdoors section of the state.
Is Michigan basically, though, it's called Michigan Outdoors, but aren't we really one of the bigger states for outdoors?
Oh, we have more fish to fish for, more game to hunt for, more registered boats, more state and federal land, more campground. We have more everything here. More water, more water than most places in the world, being surrounded by the Great Lakes. It's a phenomenal state.
But you weren't born in Michigan, were you?
No, I was born in Ohio, but
that's all right.
There's a lot of Ohio transplants up here, especially people who like to hunt and fish because they come up here from Ohio.
Did you?
To do that.
As a child, as an example, or your family do that?
Well, I only lived in Ohio till I was 10 years old, and we would go farther north. We'd usually go to Canada. My dad would take me every year somewhere up in Canada fishing for a week.
How old were you when you took your first trip?
I don't know. I remember hunting with my dad when I was real little, and I'd carry a stick, instead of a gun. We'd go pheasant hunting. I just think about it and dream about it all the time. I would always be hunting in the fields when I was a little kid, just to try to chase rabbits.
You really enjoyed it?
Oh yeah, just loved it. I wanted to get into taxidermy, mounting birds. And I wanted to be a taxidermist. I wanted to be a game warden. That was the first thing I wanted to be, when I was little. And until I found out how much they made. Back in those days,
they didn't make a lot of money.
Didn't make a lot at all. But
you really then wanted to make it as a profession and not keep it as a hobby.
Oh yeah, no, I lived and breathed it. When I was a kid, I always had animals, generally chickens or livestock, something that I was growing or nursing. Baby owls when they weren't protected by law, and you could have these things. I just loved. I wished I lived on a farm. And I used to wish I lived years ago, back in the colonial period. I thought that would be great. I don't think that would have been so great. Because I realized at the age I am now, I would have not been alive then, in all likelihood. Now is the greatest time to be on Earth, I think, for whether you like to hunt and fish or anything. But
now, your father was a hunter then and a fisher also. And
he grew up on a farm.
And got you involved in this.
Oh yeah, and I went trap shooting. He went trap shooting on the weekends. This is when shotgun shells were still cheap. And he would go trap shooting on the weekends, and I'd go out with him. But he's the one who got me into hunting and fishing, of course. And ever since I was a couple years old, I would be fishing, in the little creeks.
Do you remember the first thing you caught?
No, I've seen, I guess, a picture of it, a bluegill, a little bluegill. I had a cane pole, and I guess that was the first fish I caught.
How old were you when you got your first gun?
Oh, first gun? 8 years old. No, that was my first shotgun. I don't know how old I was, maybe 6 or 7 with a BB gun. But I always abided very strictly with the hunter's safety and gun safety. And my dad was the one who pounded this into me, made me very conscious that these guns are dangerous. That is the saving grace of guns, really, because people regard them as being so dangerous. They cause such a minor, teeny tiny percentage of accidents and fatalities. I know there's murders in the cities, and it's a weapon that, violent crime uses. But across the board, guns, as far as accidents go, are just a smidgen because people regard them as dangerous.
You're talking about hunting accidents.
No, just household accidents, hunting. You read about every gun cleaning accident. You read about every firearm accident that occurs. It's in the paper. Accidents on football fields, fatalities on football fields, far exceed hunting fatalities. Far exceed. There's something like 40,000 football players that actively play, say, high school football, that are actively playing.
In the United States.
In the United States. As I recall that statistic. But 25% of all football players get hurt, in a given year. they get hurt some way or another. And there are many, many broken necks, broken spines, and things where the kids are shuttled off to the hospital, and you never hear about them. I saw it happen. I'm kind of disappointed, really, in some of the competitive sports. I enjoy them. I watch them on television. But boy, there's a lot of accidents. There's a lot of things that happen.
How many deaths, though?
Deaths. I wish I could remember the statistic on football. It's
But there must. Are you saying there are more deaths on a football field than there are in a hunting?
Oh yes, nationwide. There are more football field deaths than hunting deaths. You read about every hunting death, and like we'll maybe have a half dozen in Michigan. You won't read about any football death, but they happen, unfortunately, and this is a sad thing. A lot of times during practice, a kid will break his neck, be off to a hospital, he's in a coma, and he dies. You never hear about it. You never even hear about some of the serious accidents that happen. Knee injuries left and right. My son played football and had $2,000 on his knee, and his knee will never be
Now, the injuries, I think you do hear about. I think that because one thing is that they were said soccer was safer than football because of the injuries. And I know that there are a lot of men who play or who are adults today who played football as a youngster and do, as you say, have the knee problems, this sort of thing.
But we're really not here to berate the competitive sports, but I'm saying that I'm glad when I take my son out hunting and fishing because I know as soon as we get there, he can participate equally with me, whether it's deer hunting or grouse hunting or perch fishing or trout fishing, he can play. And I was really disappointed. I'm disappointed in the high school sports where the kids will suit up and they go out there game after game after game and they never get to play. I say, come on with me, let's go fishing. You'll all get to fish. You can all catch something,
different.
and I feel good about that. That's really an advantage, I think, of the outdoors, that it's an individual participation sport, and it's not a spectator sport, and that makes it fun.
Okay, for the hunter and the fisher, though, do you think there are different reasons why they hunt and fish, and maybe different mentalities? Your father loved it, you loved it, and you must be instilling this in your son, and you're talking about safety.
I don't know.
Do you see any differences?
I don't know if you instill things like that. I have not seen parents successfully clone their children. have not been able to do it. I was an English major. I write. I'm, pretty good at writing and communicating. My son has the worst handwriting. English is at the bottom. He can hardly construct a sentence. And he's a whiz at math. Now, why is this? If I failed, my son is not interested in that. It's surprising how many kids are interested in, it isn't necessarily hunting or fishing, it isn't killing something. That is the big misnomer that people don't understand who do not hunt and fish. The object is not to kill something. The object in hunting is to hunt. It's the same as football. It's strategy. It's to figure out, let's see, are the grouse going to be down here in these thickets? I think they will. Now let's circle around here. And there's a great sort of exhilaration in just saying, I knew they'd be there. I knew it. I told you. A day like this, it's cloudy, and there's a lot of analysis that goes into it. Now, the next question is, well, then why do hunters kill things? Why do you pull the trigger on a deer?
You're going to say it's because you get a touchdown in the football game.
No, there's only one reason, because you want to eat it.
We asked that before you even arrived there. We were talking about, do you feel that all hunters eat whatever they kill?
98% of them. 98% of them, because the ones who don't want to, say deer hunting, for example, find ways of not shooting a deer. Hunters who want to can, and many hunters who don't really want to don't seem to shoot straight and seem to make too much noise and seem to get up too late, and they can enjoy the hunt and that aspect, because hunters pull the trigger on an animal only because they can, because they can accept this. They can say, I am going to kill that animal and take it home and butcher it and eat it. Some people can't handle that. They don't even like to talk about this package of steak comes from a cow. They say, no, stop, no, don't tell me about the cow. This is meat. And that's all right. You don't have to. I'm sure in the colonial days there were people who just weren't wild about taking their cattle and slaughtering them, or the pigs, as they do year-round. Hunting and fishing are a primitive or wild form of agriculture. It's exactly. I feel better about pursuing a deer in the woods and, taking that deer, turning it into venison and eating it than I would about raising an animal in a little teeny pen, waiting till it's big enough and then
Taking it to the state fair, winning a prize. And
well, no, that's okay, winning a prize, but then it has to be disposed of
Yes,
and eaten.
yes.
And a lot of people have trouble with that. It's an age-old problem on farms when they give names to the animals and then, have...
See, but most of us, when we're eating our food, we don't really think about the pig that was raised on the farm,
Right.
this sort of thing.
Right. That's the difference between hunters and non-hunters.
That's right.
Because hunters are aware of that. And we get a lot of joy, really, out of eating what we catch. Say fishing, for example. There's no perch dinner that tastes better than perch you've caught in Saginaw Bay. You've filleted it yourself. Here it is. It's like a ta-dam, taste this, you're going to love it. Every fisherman says, I have a way of fixing fish that's better. This is fish I caught. And I also enjoy giving away fish, catching perch and walleye and salmon and filleting them, putting them in bags and giving them to people who normally don't get a kick out of going out and fishing, but they enjoy the fish. I like to do that. I feel...
Do you think you're typical on the whole of most hunters and fishers?
Yeah, I think what I'm saying, I don't know, I haven't taken a survey, but what I put on TV and what I do is how I feel. I'm not trying to psych out typical or non-typical. I don't know. Things change so much. I could not be doing Michigan Outdoors on public television the way I do it now 15 years ago.
Why? What's the difference?
Vietnam War. Vietnam War, plain and simple. The Vietnam War had a profound effect on this country, on people my age. When the Vietnam War was raging, I was college age. I was draft age. That experience, I had bad dreams at night about killing people that I did not even know, that I did not want to kill, and that thought just, boy, I said, I could get killed, and I'm not sure exactly why. And we heard this all around. Even our politicians were saying, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Well, if you're a 18-year-old kid, 19 years old, you say, hold it, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. This isn't the best send-off to go to a foreign country, and that stirred up a lot of thought among a lot of people, including myself, where I quit hunting for a couple years. In fact, I was considering just selling my guns because I made the link. I said, no, I do not want to kill anything. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to kill anything. That period took a while for the country to get over. Like the Depression.
Did it affect a lot of people that way?
Oh, yes.
I mean, in terms of did hunting go down in terms of the amount of license and this sort of thing? Was it a general?
That's interesting. I haven't looked at that, I know that the television programs on hunting and fishing, first of all, they turned just to fishing, and then they pretty much went off the air. They had a tough time getting ratings.
Was Morton F. at that time doing Michigan Outdoors?
Morton F. ran into problems with ratings, in the late 60s. Severe ratings problems in the Detroit area. This coincided with the war, with just the, people just didn't know what's right and what's wrong. Maybe it isn't right to shoot a deer. Maybe it isn't right to go to war. Maybe, things were so stirred up that we all had questions about this. Now, I portray hunting on television the way I think hunting is, the way it is to me. It's not trophy hunting. It is...
What do you mean by trophy hunting?
Well, trophy hunting, there really aren't very many trophy hunters, but there's an image in the public that thinks there's a lot of hunters who go out and we want to get a big deer and that's all. We cut the antlers off and come home and
have 8 points or
macho
whatever.
man, that type of thing. That is, I rarely see anybody like that. Most trophy hunters have hunted a lot, and when they want to hunt an antlered animal or an animal with horns, they want a bigger one. They have a lot of time to spend on it, or they choose to spend a lot of time, so they say, well, I want to get a big one while I'm at it. Fishermen do the same thing. A fisherman who spends more time fishing gets pickier about the size of fish he keeps. If you fish for perch or walleye or whatever once a year, we want to keep everything.
I was going to say, this is going to be a naive question, but if you're really just out there to get the meat or get the fish, what difference does it make what size it is?
Well,
so there has to be another aspect, I guess, is what I'm saying.
No, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. You haven't cleaned a lot of little perch, have you?
Well, I
A
have.
little
To be honest
bougie.
with you, I
Yeah,
have.
okay.
I'm from Michigan.
Don't you like to clean the bigger,
Bigger
ones
ones.
better?
That's right. Well, if you want to
Yeah.
know the truth, I don't like cleaning fish, period.
Well, I do. See, that's one thing I've always enjoyed. I enjoy
That's
butchering
why
my
you
own
fish
deer.
more than I do.
Well, I enjoy butchering my own deer. I enjoy cleaning my fish. I take, there's some people who do. They say, hey, I can fillet a fish in, 30 seconds. That's why we did a fish filleting contest on Michigan Outdoors about 3 years ago, because I enjoy fish filleting, and I made a contest out of it, and it was fun. But I enjoy, saving all the meat and making a little work of art out of it. The outdoors to a lot of people is art, or a certain group of people. Fly fishermen, for example, aren't out there just for the meat. They're absorbed in how they tied the fly. They take great pride in that fly. And their presentation. Not only that, their clothes they wear. Most fly fishermen who are really into it have a certain set of clothes. It's usually a little more expensive than the rest of us buy. And there's an aura around that. Most people who do any activity, I think, make an art out of it. They strive to do it better, faster, bigger, farther, whatever. More
Then
consistently.
why the bad image?
The bad image because. Bad image?
Yes.
Who's saying anything about a bad image?
I am. Because we
Bad
went-
image of hunters.
Hunters.
Okay, hunters because, just for the simple reason, we go out and shoot something.
Well, even, back up a little bit. There's the image that there are hunters that just go up there with their buddies and they drink and they play cards, and that gun is never used, or if it is used, it's used irresponsibly.
Well, that's not true that it's used or used irresponsibly. There's very, very few. Most people in a hunting party, geez, just about everybody doesn't permit guns and alcohol to mix. That's one of the 10 commandments of gun safety that everybody learns, and everybody's concerned about that. So that, you don't see that happening. In shooting events, handgun silhouette shooting, for example, if there is the smell of alcohol anywhere, you're off the range. If there's one little infraction on gun handling, if your barrel is swinging around or you're not, you're out. There's no question about it. This is enforced very strictly in the shooting sports, and this carries over into hunting. Now, those who are up there really not to hunt and to party, I don't see why that should necessarily give them a bad image, that it's bad if they go up north and sit around in their underwear and play poker, when they can do the same thing at home. What about bowlers? Do bowlers have a great image? See, there's certain people in this society who are picked on in the media, and I don't say it's bad. Really, hunters are going to say, hold it, Trost, what are you doing? Well, some of these things are necessary. Who's picked on that's bad? Cops. You ever seen a movie lately that portrays a policeman as,
The friendly cop on the
friendly,
corner.
friendly
No.
and intelligent? No, mainly bumbling and fouling up. It takes a guy like Eddie Murphy who's off the wall to be the hero cop. These are our hero cops, the mavericks, the ones who tell the system to, buzz off. So cops have a bad image in the media. Football players don't make it off too easily. When they're portrayed by comedians or anything, not a shred of intelligence, We know that isn't true, but they're picked on. There's certain people who are sort of picked on. Hunters. Another reason why hunters are, and we are the seediest looking lot going. I'll tell you.
You said that.
I know, I said that, but we are. But we can't deny, but we enjoy that because that's one of the enjoyable aspects of the outdoors. You can wear some clothes that you are going to get dirty. You're going to get them very dirty, and you're liable to rip your pants or your shirt. You dress that way. It's a time when you're just generally with the fellas, and it is generally a male-oriented. Outdoors is pretty much a male-oriented activity. At least it attracts primarily males who don't like to shave while they do these activities, and that's a part of it. It's a more basic, primitive, type of experience where you get out you're not in the city, you're out in the country, out in the woods, out on the water, and you don't have to wear a tie or certain clothes. So you wear what's practical and what's comfortable. And this is on the Johnny Carson show. The only time they talk about hunting or show a hunter, he's,
The same image.
a bimbo.
Mm-hmm.
But to a great degree, they're making fun of the clothes. And I don't have a big problem with that because hunters make fun of other people's clothes too. Every group makes fun of other
When you're up
people's.
north and you're sitting
When
in
you're
your
up
phone, you're
north,
making fun of the
you're
rest
making
of
fun
us,
of people
right?
with the ties and all this and the stuffy people. And, yeah, it's like teams. And this is what I've learned. See, on Michigan Outdoors, I do a wide variety of hunting and fishing activities. And each of these activities has a social aspect that goes with it.
Give me an example.
Every type of fisherman, every species and every technique attracts a little different type of person. The person that goes out and fishes in Saginaw Bay for perch, ice fishing in the winter, religiously, is a little different type of person than you'll find trolling for salmon. And I haven't detailed what these differences are, but I think the hunters and fishermen know what I'm talking about. Grouse hunters, well, they tend to use English setter dogs. They have an image of being pipe smoking and maybe fishing for trout with flies on the off season. And that's basically, if you analyze this, it's the way it is. There's just little social classes maybe that go with it, but they're also like teams. In the bow hunting fraternity, I use a recurve bow, which is a more primitive, just has a string and pulls back. A lot of hunters use the compounds. Most of them do, with the wheels and pulleys. It doesn't matter to me what a person uses, but it matters to a lot of the people who use them. The recurve people tend to say, oh, all of that technology, those people, not only is the equipment they use really not proper, but we don't like the people who use them. Now, I mean, it doesn't really go that far, but it sort of does. It's people who...
It's a class system in some ways, isn't it?
Well, people attach this. And the reason I make this comparison is because of the Lions and the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. You don't care necessarily who that person is sitting over in the stands who's waving for the Green Bay Packers. You don't like him.
No,
because he's waving for the Green Bay Packers.
That's right.
So we divide up teams, but we enjoy that. We really don't hold anything against the Dallas Cowboys fans. But when we're down there at the football game, we're sort of, for the moment, enemies. Not just with the other team, but with the fans. The cheerleaders, the band, the whole works, boo, In baseball, I mean, it's rampant. These people get very excited. But this lets off steam. This has a function in our society. That's why it doesn't bother me to see the bow hunters with their cliques and groups. How
many hunters do we have in Michigan?
Oh, millions. If they all bought a license every year, which they don't do, we'd have millions. 1 in 4, this has been the statistic, 1 in 4 males over the age of 14 buys a deer license. In Michigan. You analyze it out, and it's an accurate statistic. So a lot of people hunt and fish, not maybe regularly, but at least occasionally. Fishing is a part of most people's vacations.
Here in Michigan.
Here in Michigan. Most people who vacation, who come from another state or stay here, most people at one time or another during their vacation fish. At least try it. Buy a one-day license, or they want to do that.
I want to know, because of that, were you able to get Michigan Outdoors back on for that reason, back on television? Because
no,
how come it was able to come back after it went off?
Because of public TV. If it wasn't for public TV, we would not be on the air, because hunting and fishing, like a whole lot of subjects, can't attain top ratings. There's a lot of shows, comedy shows and things that can't attain top ratings. There's a lot of general audience shows that can't, and it's a vicious, short-lived world in commercial television. It happens very fast. It's very competitive.
Hey, you have to make the ratings within, sometimes they say, used to say 13, now it's down to 3 weeks.
Now
you have
it's
to
3
make
weeks.
It 3 weeks.
They give it a shot there.
That's
So
right.
we would not be on, we will never be. Outdoors will never be on commercial TV the way I can do it on public television, and we've gathered a large and loyal and interested audience. And the fun thing is, to me, I finally hit the point where I realized this team concept. There are teams out there. You hunters and fishermen are teams. You take your particular activities that you enjoy and think that they are the best and the tops and the most proper and the most ethical, and a lot of the clubs and groups get real adamant about who's better and who should be allowed the special regulations and so on. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't distress me. That's healthy. because that's like the competitive spectator sports on the weekend. And sometimes, you know, it's viewed that, well, this is tearing apart. Hunters and fishermen should be together. Well, we are together, but we're squabbling together like family. Like nobody
Do you
says.
have that on your show as an example? We only have about
No.
3 minutes, but I mean, do you ever have a debate like having
No,
someone
because
here?
no debates like that. I portray hunting and fishing the best I can do it. Each activity, trying to portray it within the bounds of gathering food, because I think that's important that the non-hunters and non-fishermen realize that this is basic. Perch fishermen aren't out there for the sport. They're out there, they like to eat perch. Walleye fishermen love to eat walleye, you know, generally. And there are some fishermen who just like to catch a big fish like salmon, but most of them love to eat them. People who don't like to eat a certain type of fish or a certain type of game generally don't even bother pursuing it. And so I portray it as a food gathering activity. I try to bring out, to take each element of the show and bring out the best I can. So the people who don't do that, which is 99% of them, can understand it. See, 99% of the fishermen are novices at 99% of the kinds of fishing and hunting or fishing there is.
Say that again.
99%, this is my own statistic, 99% of the fishermen. We have 50 species of fish in this state.
Okay.
Most people aren't even expert at one. I'm really not, very frankly.
Well, most of us, if we go out once a year, couldn't be an expert.
No,
We're
no.
going out
So most
just
people
to,
can't be. And people who are an expert at, say, salmon fishing, if you give them a test on bluegill, bass, catfish, walleye, perch, on down the line with 40 species of fish, they'd say, don't have time to do them.
No.
So most people, most hunters and fishermen, even the most diehard, are novices at most outdoor activities.
so they pick one that they really enjoy.
Yeah, they pick one or two
Two.
or three, you know, and they'll concentrate on them for a few years. And that's why I present everything on Michigan Outdoors on a entry basic level, to explain to everybody else, which is 99% of us who hunt and fish even, what and why and how it's done.
And why maybe you would choose to fish for a walleye
Yeah.
over a perch or whatever,
What
the
this
differences
does-
and this sort of thing.
What this does is it attracts people to try new things, which I think is fun. That's what I spend most of my time doing. I'm out with a new type of fishing for a different type of fish or a different time of year or a different technique.
Do you
know.
do more on fishing than you do on hunting?
Oh, well, I just stick with the seasons. Hunting
Okay.
seasons are about this long, and everything happens like a hockey game. Bow, 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 all the seasons occur. Fishing stretches out really
see.
throughout the year. So we spend more time on that. But on every show, I try to include hunting and fishing because people need to understand in this country, they need to understand hunting, how it relates to agriculture, where our food comes from, and hunters and fishermen just choose to go out and say, I want to take this deer or this grouse or this pheasant. I want to bring it home and I want to eat it. Now, you could say, save a chicken, shoot a pheasant. Save a cow, shoot a deer. It all ends up the same. If we don't shoot the deer, then we go say, send me one more cow this year. You know, so in the balance of life, you know, I feel myself that there's nothing gained, nothing lost by hunting or fishing, or because we're all going to consume X amount of food and it's going to come from something living. And it just depends on where.
I'm sorry to say our time is up.
Oh, golly, we were just getting started.
That's right. Nice to have you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. See you next week. You know, you've never